All right, Trysten, whenever you are ready.
I did Flick from A Bug's Life as an unconventional hero. I think that he would make a good hero in today's society because he's inventive, persistent, and he cares for others more than he cares for himself. Flick lives in a very cookie-cutter world where, in the very beginning, the ants are bringing seeds to the offering pile, and a leaf falls in front of them, and it cuts off the line, and the ants go absolutely crazy, like saying, "Where's the line? What happened?" Because they're so used to uniform, and there's a certain order. So they're picking food for the grasshoppers, and there's a certain order. The sun grows the food, the ants pick the food, and the grasshoppers eat the food. It's a very uniform world for them, except for Flick, who makes inventions and goes out of his way to try to help who tries to help the ants be more productive and make life better for them, but inevitably he always makes things worse. So he created this automatic harvester that cuts down the entire stem and picks off all the seeds rather than doing it one at a time. But when it comes time to going into the anthill, he knocks down the entire offering pile for the grasshoppers, which causes a lot of problems for them. Hopper, the main grasshopper, comes into the anthill with the rest of them and makes a couple of threats, and then he promises that they'll be back at the end of the season to collect double the order of food, which is nearly impossible for the ants to get without having any food for themselves. So then Flick again shows his perseverance and his care for others when he volunteers to go into the city and leave the island to find bigger bugs to fight the grasshoppers rather than to appease their requests this time. And they let him, the council decides to let him go just so that he'll leave. He thinks that he's doing something good for them, but it's really so that they can get him out of there and go along with things with no more issues. But he surprises everybody when he comes back with the bigger bugs to help fight the grasshoppers. However, Flick is mistaken once again, and they're circus bugs. And when they try to leave, he convinces them that making a bird to scare the grasshoppers away will work because even Hopper is afraid of birds. So when they do come back, they use the bird, and things just go terribly wrong. The bird starts on fire, and Hopper is furious that the ants tried to stick up to him. But then he goes to crush Flick, and Ada finally stands up to him after looking at Flick's example of being persistent and fighting for what he believes in and caring for others. And she stands up to Hopper and describes a new order to him. She says the ants pick the food, the ants keep the food, and the grasshoppers leave. And after watching Flick's example and being beaten and bruised, the rest of the ants realize that they do outnumber the grasshoppers and they can stand up for what they believe in. And Flick finally gets the recognition that he deserves. And then Flick outsmarts Hopper one last time when Hopper tries to take him way up in the air. And he leads him to where the bird's nest is, and Hopper thinks that it's another trick, but then the bird eats Hopper, and the ants are finally free.
Thank you, Trysten. Questions for Trysten?
What made you choose this character?
Flick? I don't know. So really, honestly, whenever we had to write the essays or we had to do the outlines, I didn't have a character yet, and so I just looked up, I didn't even look up heroes. I just looked up Disney characters, unconventional Disney characters, and it was between Flick and another person. But I think An Ant's Life was always. Sorry, I'm thinking of Ants too. A Bug's Life was always one of my favorite movies, and I always saw Flick as a hero. He is the hero in that movie, even though it's unconventional and he's constantly causing problems and making a fool of himself. In the end, he does convince everybody else that they can do the same thing and stand up for what they believe in and have a better life.
So, Flick obviously has a few hits and misses with his inventions.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this debatable whether that can be considered heroic or not, depending on whether it causes harm or causes help. That's a poor expression. But anyway, do you think is there any way he could have implemented his use of inventions and better than he did?
I think that if he would have ran his inventions by people and helped them to understand what he was trying to do, it could have gone over better rather than it just being him. Somebody could have told him don't just throw it next to the thing, especially while it's still running. That causes problems. If everybody had one, there would be more of an order. But again, they were super uniform, did everything by the book of way of living, and just wasn't like that. So I feel had he had other people to go along with him, there would have been more order. But it was just him trying to make things right, or trying to make things better for a colony that really didn't have any openness to having a better life.
All right. Thank you, Trysten.